Okay. Good afternoon. Just wait a minute and we will start promptly at 3 o'clock. Thank you. Okay, I think we can start now. So good afternoon, good evening, good morning, depending on where you're logging in from, to our online audience, and a warm and special welcome to all our speakers, panelists, and facilitators of this aquatic pollutants session entitled Amplifying Research, Development, and Innovation amongst Partner Countries. The Aquatic Pollutants is a consortium of 3 joint programming initiatives on water, oceans, and antimicrobial resistance. So my name is Amelia Marutla, and I'm based at the Water Research Commission here in South Africa, and I will be hosting this session. Just a brief outline of today's session. We will first hear an opening address from Dr. Mamuklodding Grale, who is the head of the Business Development and Partnership Unit here at the Water Research Commission. And she will be speaking about the value of international project cooperation and why programs such as the Aquatic Pollutants is so important. Thereafter, we will present pre-recorded presentations from 4 of our African partners that will showcase strategic projects related to the 2 thematic areas in the Aquapolitics Consortium. They will each give a brief overview of how research in the aquatic pollutants is addressing and solving African challenges. The 2 themes are pairwise and Sarah, and these projects address measuring the environmental behavior of contaminants of emerging concerns, pathogens, and antimicrobial-resistant bacteria in aquatic ecosystems. The other 2 projects, REWA and SERPIC, they address taking action and the strategies that have been developed to reduce contaminants of emerging concerns, pathogens, and antimicrobial-resistant bacteria in aquatic ecosystems, which include inland, coastal, and marine. So without further ado, I will give over the opening address to Dr. Grale. Please, the floor is yours.
Greetings. Greetings to all. Apologies, we're having a bit of a challenge with our audio. Can you hear us? Nonhlanhla, please confirm if you can hear us.
Yes, I can. And the echo seems to be gone.
Nonhlanhla, can you hear us clearly?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Apologies, colleagues. We are sitting in one room, so you know how it works with the virtual connection. Greetings to everyone. My name is Mamuklodding, as I've been introduced, and I work for the Water Research Commission of South Africa, and my responsibility is to head the unit called Partnerships and Business Development. In today's presentation, I'm going to be sharing with you I think it's good for me to take the opportunity, obviously, to introduce the Water Research of South Africa, the Water Research Commission of South Africa, our strategic focus as a commission in South Africa. And I would like to just take you on a reminder tour of what are the global challenges in water, bring it back to South African water challenges, and then I'll end up with the kind of possible partnership areas of collaboration for partnerships, because that's what I was asked to speak about. What kind of partnerships do we need and how important are they? So I'll end up with a slide where I'm showing some few areas of collaborations that we are proposing from the Water Research Commission that we could take up through platforms like Aquapollutants and many other international collaboration platforms. Just to start by saying that the Water Research Commission is a public entity in South Africa, established in 1971. So we report to the Ministry of Water and Sanitation in South Africa. And we were established to kind of be an institution in South Africa, a dedicated institution that will set up the agenda of the country when it comes to water research. The institution that will promote cooperation and coordination of different stakeholder groups and actors within the water sector to then fund, implement, share, disseminate water research and the developments thereof, to stimulate and fund water research in the country. So we are the majority funder of water research in South Africa. We were also established with the mandate to promote effective transfer of information and technology and all the uptake of the research or knowledge products that comes from our research that we are funding. So we don't do research ourselves as a commission, but we launch calls and the respective researchers, innovators will then respond to our calls based on what we're looking for. And of course, there's an issue of capacity, which we are supposed to, as a commission, to build within the water sector in South Africa. So we have our strategy which focuses on 5 thematic areas. The first one being water availability, meaning the work that we fund, the programs that we run as the commission will be touching on one or more of these pillars that are highlighted on the right-hand side. Cycle is the water availability, is water use, is water quality and health, advisory services, and knowledge dissemination of the work that we are doing. But if you really look at why we are here, it's really to ensure that we support, we fund, we contribute to the creation of new knowledge, scientific knowledge that could help to respond to the challenges that we're experiencing in South Africa in the water sector. Ensure that there is really impact from the work that we are funding, meaning that whatever work we are doing, we make sure that we engage with the communities, we really go to the ground and see what are the real needs of this country, so that when we fund research projects, innovation products, it's things that are really responding to the local needs in South Africa. And our strategic outcomes are to make sure that we are an efficient and an engaged organization, empowering our stakeholders and making sure that we influence the decision made in the entire water sector. We build an innovation-driven water sector. We build adaptation and resilience. We all know that water challenges, it's really global, it's complex, it affects other sectors. So it's important that the research that we are commissioning and we are supporting somehow contributes towards providing the knowledge that is required, the expertise, the skills, the empowerment to be able to be adaptable and also resilient to whatever climate change, extreme weather events that could happen to the water sector, but also to the other sectors that are affected by the water sector. And then just a quick reminder, I mean, we all know these slides, obviously, the kind of challenges that we are seeing in related to global change and water security. The fact that there's so many people that are still not having access to safe drinking water, regardless of the fact that we are left with a very few years before 2030 deadline of the Sustainable Development Goals, which includes Sustainable Development Goal 6, which is all about access to water and sanitation. There is issues of centralized versus decentralized solution that we need to establish. The issue of climate change, which is not only a problem in our water resources, but a human challenge because it affects the water, it affects the livelihoods, it affects the other sectors, therefore ultimately also having a very huge impact on human species. The issues of population growth that we all know is happening all over the world. And with the population growth comes the increased demand of water and sanitation services. We know that our industries produce a lot of wastewater, and some of that untreated wastewater goes back to the environment, which then affects our environment. So there's lots of issues around the water security, global change, which affects health, the environment, the livelihoods of the people. And when you bring it back home to South Africa, then I just wanted to share with you what are the challenges that we are experiencing in South Africa with regards to the water sector. The first thing is issues of supply. We have quite a number of people that are still not serviced, meaning not having access to clean drinking water. We have a challenge of non-revenue water, so most of the water is lost and not accounted for in the municipalities. we still have a large portion of our communities not having access to dignified sanitation solutions. And with sanitation solution, we're not saying everybody, for example, must have a flushing toilet, because we know that there are communities that don't have piped systems. But as the Water Research Commission, we are saying there are a lot of solutions that we have supported as the WRC that either use minimal water or they are really off-grid. And those solutions should be brought forth to ensure that we provide people with dignified sanitation solution. And of course, there's also issues of wastewater. So in South Africa, we used to have water challenge or access to drinking water as a challenge for marginalized communities, poor communities, and in the urban areas, we never used to have such challenges, but we are recently experiencing challenges even in urban areas where there are water cuts, because we just don't have enough water to service everyone. So there's issues of failing service delivery, especially at local level in South Africa. There is inefficient use of water across all users. Poor water use behavior. As much as we are a water scarce country, majority are still not respecting water. We're really wasting water in the way we use it. There we have challenges with institutional and governance when it comes to water and sanitation management. We have deteriorating water quality in our resources, and also at point of use. Sometimes there would be communities that has taps, but you find that the water that's coming out of the taps is not really of good quality for human consumption. And I think in the water sector as a whole in South Africa, we're still a bit behind when it comes to digitalizing things, the way we do our work, the way we manage our water and sanitation. And what we are saying is we have a lot of expertise, we have credible knowledge that is being produced in South Africa with our partners. And I think through research, development, and innovation, we can be able to address these challenges that you are seeing South Africa is experiencing. And now when you look at why are partnerships is important? As I've mentioned, you have seen the global challenges when it relates to water security. You have seen the challenges that we are experiencing in South Africa, but we are saying that with partnerships, internally or locally, transboundary, internationally, we can be able to address many of the challenges that we are experiencing in South Africa and those that are experienced by many other countries that are participating in this session. And the first partnership opportunity that we are seeing is leveraging of funding. We know that in South Africa, we don't have sufficient funding to support research and innovation and enable and provide an enabling environment for innovation uptake. So with partnership, we are able to tap into partners' resources, and not only financial, but also intellectual, because as we work in partnerships, like in this aquapollutants, you would have a consortia comprising of researchers from different countries. In South Africa, we also have a challenge of a lag between the development of a specific knowledge solution up to the uptake on the ground. And we know that through partnership, we are able to learn from the others. We are able to piggyback and leapfrog from what other countries has experienced. And an issue of insufficient patents, and this talks specifically to the water sector in South Africa. Other sectors may be not having this challenge, but with us, we are seeing that there's still in the private sector not enough patents that we are seeing coming from the water sector. The issues of capacity. Through partnerships, we can build programs that can provide training to young people, training to whoever else in the water sector that requires skills and empowerment to be able to uptake the solutions and the knowledge that are coming out to see the impact. There's a biggest challenge when it comes to what do you address? Do you address pressing challenges that we're currently seeing, or do we build partnerships to prepare ourselves for future challenges? And I think, again, through international partnerships or even partnerships with other African partners, we're looking at transboundary issues, we can be able to actually start investing and working on preparing ourselves for the future. The issues of water quantity, water quality, water for productive use. As I've said, this is some of the programs that we can put in place, some of the partnerships that we can put in place to look at such challenges. And I just want to also tap onto the issues of capacity. In South Africa, we really need to build capacity in the water sector in all levels, from the academic side, in the private sector, in the government space, so that when researchers and knowledge generators produce good, credible research, it can be able to be taken up and really make a difference in the way the sector improving making their decisions, and also the way we implement and provision for water and sanitation services. So there's a big need for partnership to develop programs for institutional and individual capacity building. We need partners to develop training materials, convert some of the research work that have been done can be converted into training materials. We develop courses that could then be hosted virtually or in person, and that's where we need partners. There are some partners that have already training materials programs in place, or we can work with partners excuse me, to develop tailor-made training programs excuse me, and of course opportunities that we can put in place to build capacities for early young water professionals, so that they are able to really be the future leaders who will really make a substantial contribution in the water sector in the future. And the last point talks to also capacitating the communities. There are lots of water-related programs that we implement for communities to afford them the opportunity to have water and sanitation services, and therefore it is important to also empower these communities so that they become resilient and they are able to contribute to the broader objective of building water security. And in that case, for example, you can look at partnerships where we're looking at how we build citizen science programs, water stewardships, really how we use the knowledge that is created through research development and innovation to empower the community so that they contribute to the bigger scheme of things. And lastly, therefore, the partnerships that we see from our side is funding and implementation partnerships, but I think we need to really start prioritizing what kind of partnership, not just fund basic research, for example, but let's fund research that will really address specific needs and improve service delivery at local level, because I think in most of the African countries, actually, the issue is with service delivery at local level. And also partnerships that will help us to build efficiency in the way we use water across all sectors. We know agriculture uses a lot of water, but what kind of research can we do to assist and to provide the necessary knowledge that is required to see improvement in the way we use water? Behavioral changes is one of the big also issues where we need to educate the communities, the citizens on how to respect water, how to use water wisely so that we save this precious resource that we are having. The digital transition, as I've mentioned, I think we need partnerships with those that are a bit ahead when it comes to digitization of water management, so that we work with others to come in and bring us up to speed. And also just partnership, stewardship in general, to try and build this water-wise behavior where we're protecting the environment, we're protecting our water resources, and therefore protecting the people. Because if our water resources are contaminated, for example, we will be having issues when it comes to health. And in closing, I would like to say that inventions become innovative only when society finds them useful. That means when we find them having really real impact on the ground. And we need partnerships to exchange ideas, to build ideas, to come up with new knowledge and sustainable innovative solutions to address this water security that we are seeing either at your own country or globally. And we really need partnerships that will help to build an enabling environment for the innovation, environment for the innovation, so that they are able to innovate, but also support the uptake through whatever regulatory processes or so forth we may be having. And most importantly, innovation is not always immediately revolutionary. So we need to try and be patient, but we need to have targeted effort, strategic partnerships that will help us to be able to push as fast as possible, leapfrog, and come up with sustainable solutions that will help us to address the water challenges that we see in South Africa, Africa, and the world. So we really need partnerships within countries, across borders, and most importantly, to remember to always bring the future leaders of tomorrow, which is the youth, in the work that we are doing. And with that, I'll end it there, Chairperson. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Thomas, for your opening remarks. So next we have in the program that we will start presenting projects. The first project will be the Pairwise project, and this is led by Professor Charles Masembe at Makerere University in Uganda. So we will present, and then we would open up to questions in the session after this. And just a reminder for all participants, please feel free to leave questions and comments in the chat session, and we'll try to highlight some of these later on. Please.
Sorry, but we can't hear anything.
Sorry, the audio seems to be a bit low. Is there anything you can do on your side, Michaela?
No, I can't. You need to do it on your computer. So try again. No, we can't hear anything. Just 1 minute. So Amelia, can you see my message in the chat?
Sorry, I can't see anything.
Yes, we're working on it.
Okay.
Just a minute.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry, is it possible for Prof to present it himself from his side?
Yeah, if you play the video, if you play the video, I can speak to it.
Okay, so we'll just play the video, but then lower the Don't have the voice too. Okay, we go.
Okay, yeah. Thank you very much. And thanks, Ma'am Loading, for this. And thanks to the World Water Week for this opportunity and Aquatic Pollutants. So we are a consortium of 7 partners looking at disposal of antibiotic resistance and antibiotics in water ecosystems at the livestock-wildlife interface. Basically, we are investigating antibiotics, antimicrobial-resistant bacteria, and the antimicrobial resistance genes in wastewater treatment plants downstream, livestock, and birds. We want to see their dispersal and how they play. What is the dynamics of antimicrobial resistance dispersion in this? I've spoken faster. So next one then. Yeah. So we collected samples from across those different environments, which I've mentioned. We collected from downstream wastewater treatment plants. We collected from hospital effluent and the dung, cow dung, and from marabou stock and pied crows. The main findings, we categorized them in 4. And here, after doing this antibiotic susceptibility testing, we found presence of complete resistance among the most commonly used beta-lactams, and then the nitromidazole and macrolide. So these are the antimicrobials that we commonly use, but we find that there is the resistance against these. In the cow parts that we collected from the farms, and also the dung that we collected from birds, marabou stock, and pied crows, we also found presence of antibiotic resistance genes. This is interesting because then in the AMR world, not much has focused on this part of the environment. Effluent samples from the hospitals, and also from downstream, the wastewater treatment plants, and the river that we chose, which has got high anthropogenic activities. We found presence of ESBL producing E. coli and K. pneumoniae. And actually, when we did further testing, we found out 20 E. coli and 10 K. pneumoniae. We are having the blood CTXM gene, 22 carried the blood TEM gene, and the 8 carried the blood SHV gene, which is actually very worrying for health. We also found out that those cattle which graze near these environments, there's a possibility for them to acquire antibiotic-resistant bacteria and genes or MR transfer from the water where they go to drink, because humans and animals, they all collect water from the same source. Next, please. Yeah. One of the questions was, what are the major conclusions and future directions? We really have quite a shopping list, but we chose out 4. The pairwise approach is novel because we are touching across the different environment divides. Our results and the tools that we have used in this research, they facilitate the identification of hotspots and the development of potential mitigation strategies against the dispersal and dissemination of these resistant bacteria, resistant genes, and the antibiotics. And again, we contribute to the global efforts, the World Health Organization, in a way to work on AMR. The other question was, how do we mitigate? How do we reduce? Because the future is the question. How do we mitigate? How do we reduce the AMR problem? So yeah, that's what we are asking ourselves in the future. I thank you.
Thank you so much. So our next presentation. Sorry, this seems to be sensitive. Can I speak now? Okay. So the next presentation will be from Professor Piche Martinsen. who will present on the REWA project, and she's based at the University of KwaZulu-Natal, South Africa.
There is no sound. Is it possible for Prof to just also give the main points?
Yes, certainly.
Name of the project is Reduction and Assessment
can you
of
stop
Antimicrobial-Resistance
Sorry,
there is.
in natural-based water treatment
Is
systems.
it visible?
Our goal
Audible?
is the strategic development and implementation of systems.
Sorry, Amelia, we can't hear anything. Is the speaker here? Maybe the speaker can do the presentation with the voice. Vice, you're muted. Thank you.
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah. Is it your presentation?
But yes, it's my presentation, but we were hearing it first and then it died.
Yes.
And also from
My voice is there.
Yes, I can hear it now.
Visible region of the spectrum,
I
which
think
is
it's something wrong with the file you have, Amelia.
In conclusion, I would like to
Maybe
say
it's
that
better
we have made
if you stop it, and Vice, you can do the presentation.
Sorry, there seems to be some issues here. We hear it very high on our side. You cannot hear?
No, we can't hear it
Stop it.
in the beginning, but after a few minutes we can hear.
Similarly, the photocations are active in the visible region of the solar spectrum and show promising results. Overall, the project will create new.
Okay. So there seems to be some issue here. We hear it well on our side, but it seems like the audience is not hearing it. So did you hear anything from that presentation?
Yes, in the middle and after a few minutes.
Okay. Yeah, I'm so sorry. Professor Beja, would you mind to just have a quick run through? I know
no
it's
problem.
not, yes, go ahead. And then we'll stop sharing on our sides.
I don't have the presentation at hand. Can you share it?
Okay, we can share the presentation and if you just speak to it, but then
yeah,
just
that's
mute
fine.
it. Thanks. Sorry, apologies. Go ahead, Professor Beja.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that. Good afternoon, everyone from South Africa. I'm Beche Martinchi, And I will be speaking about the South African part to the REWA project, which entails material preparation and demonstration. The lead partner in this project is the University of Oulu in Finland, and we are a consortium of 4 partners, the University of Oulu in Finland, the University of Copenhagen in Denmark, the University of KwaZulu-Natal in South Africa, and Miguel Galilee Research Institute in Israel. Thank you. Next slide. I would like to briefly introduce REWA to you. The project name is Reduction and Assessment of Antimicrobial Resistance and Emerging Pollutants in Natural-Based Water Treatment Systems. And our goal is to strategically develop and implement sustainable and cost-effective technologies for the removal of these emerging contaminants, metals, and pathogens, including antimicrobial-resistant bacteria and antibiotic resistance genes from water. The South African contribution entails a demonstration that biosorbents and carbon-based materials can be used for wastewater effluent polishing. And next slide, please. To this end, we have developed sorbents and photocatalysts to treat water. In the case of the sorbents, we took biochar that was locally made from waste pine or from exotic plant material that was cleared, and we then combined it with a strong material like graphene oxide to make nanocomposites. These nanocomposites were used to remove emerging pollutants like the sunscreen filter, benzophenone 3, which is persistent, antiretroviral drugs like abacavir, and antibiotics like tetracycline. On the photocatalysis side, we developed photocatalysts based on tin vanadate and also on bismuth oxyhalides, and they were utilized to photodegrade similar materials. And all these photocatalysts work in the visible range of the solar spectrum, which is the predominant irradiance that falls on the Earth's surface. And we got good results there too. We got degradation efficiencies of up to 93%. And with the adsorbents, we could equally remove high percentages of these materials, of these pollutants. Next slide, please. So what we have shown is that you can make sorbents from waste materials that are effective, and also the photocatalysts that are active in the visible region of the spectrum show promising results. So overall, this project will create new knowledge on the fate and removal of emerging contaminants and antimicrobial resistance from real waters in sustainable solutions. In future, what we need to show is that column studies with the adsorbents and photodegradation flow-through devices need to be devised to test our materials on real effluent. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Professor. Yes, apologize. There seems to be an issue with the sound connection here. Professor Ntambo, you are next, presenting on the SERA project, and you're based at Eduardo Mondlane University in Mozambique. If you're able to present, we would appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, good afternoon. Maybe I can share the presentation myself and get freedom.
Prof, I think you're muted. If you could just unmute yourself.
Yeah, sorry, I was muted. Can you see my presentation?
Yes, we can see it. Thank you. Go ahead.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to present the SARA project. SARA project is, my name is Kamesinya Ntombo. I'm actually based in the Modern University in Mozambique. And SARA project is a consortium of 8 countries. I'll share the partners data in this presentation. The SARA project is focused on the antibiotic resistance in the environment. As you all know, the antibiotic resistance originates from humans, animals, and it goes to the environment. And within the environment, it can be exchanged with changes within same species of bacteria or different species of bacteria. And we have a video that we created within this project that describes how it's developed. But then the SARA project is based on the antibiotic resistance in the environment. What we did, we chose the Influent River Basin as a study area for this project. And at the beginning, we didn't have information on microbial contamination in the river basin. We decided to conduct a thematic survey on the level of contamination in the river basin. We looked at the water in the environment, but we decided also to look at different sources of water. So we collected a number of samples in these sources of water and also in the river, the mainstream of the river. As you see, Influent River Basin receives water from the drainage system from Maputo City, which has a lot of informal settlements, and the level of contamination in the informal settlements is so high, and the microbial contamination, microorganisms can be moved to the mainstream of the river. And the water of the river is also used for agriculture production. And as you see, if the water is contaminated, there's high risk of having contamination with this agriculture products from that the lands in the Influent River, and that contamination can go back to the communities because the products from the Influent River goes to the main markets in Maputo and Mator. We also try to characterize different sources of water. We in Maputo, in Influent River Basin, you can find 3 different sources of water: the surface well, the boreholes, and also the conventional drinking water distribution system. But as you see in the picture on the right-hand side, the water distribution system is not good, and sanitation, and there's a high likelihood of contaminating water from the sewage. We observed from the samples that we collected in the river and the drainage system that there's a 6% of samples were positive to total coliform, and 25% of samples collected were positive for E. coli in the river water. But in the drainage system, all the water was contaminated by total coliforms and E. coli. We also look at different sources of water, and you see different, like the level of contamination for each sources, for borehole, conventional drinking water distribution system, and from the surface well. As you see, the drinking water distribution system, there's like occurrence of microorganisms in the conventional drinking water system, which is not supposed to happen. And about antibiotic resistance, 42% of E. coli isolates from water samples from the river were positive to antibiotic resistance. And we also look at the different studies that were conducted in by the Faculty of Medicine and also by the Faculty of Veterinary on antibiotic resistance in the humans and also in the animals. Well, but during this project, we managed to develop capacity. We trained several students. We had 7 theses and 9 nine students are still working on their thesis. We have in totally 16 theses completed. We have already one paper published, 2 manuscripts submitted, and also different participations in conferences. As I told you at the beginning, this project, what I presented to you, it's what we have done in Mozambique, but there are other activities that are being conducted by other members. It's led by the German partner, but we have partners from Sweden, a partner from France, from Spain, Israel, Portugal, Uganda, and Mozambique as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Prof. Dr. Botes, are you able to give your presentation directly?
Yes, it's fine. Can you share my slides?
Yes, we will do so on our side. Can you share the slides?
Thank you. Hey, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Marlies Botes, and I'm a project manager at Stellenbosch University Water Institute. I will shortly give an overview of one of our European partnerships and highlight how we as African partner contributed to SARPIC. So SARPIC stands for Sustainable Electrochemical Reduction of Contaminants of Emerging Concern and Pathogens in Wastewater Treatment Effluent for Irrigation of Crops. Our leading partner was Fraunhofer IST in Germany. Other partners were in Portugal, Spain, and Norway. So I would firstly like to start by giving background to our partnership with Fraunhofer in Germany. It started with a friendship between our Vice Director of Research and Innovation, Professor Kruse, and the President of Fraunhofer, Professor Neugebauer. We had the vision to create a partnership between the two institutes to jointly address the water challenges in Southern Africa. So the first collaborative project was the EU-funded project named the Save Water Africa project that involved Fraunhofer and partners from Germany, Italy, and Spain, and South Africa and Mozambique. On the right, you can see there we developed a decentralized Made in Africa treatment system, which is highly effective in the degradation of CECs. And the carbon-based electrochemical oxidation was designed by Fraunhofer IST and applied in the system. So you can see on the right the final pictures of the treatment system. Just go back to the slide, sorry. Situated at Arwat in Johannesburg. Can you, yeah, thank you. And then a follow-up project, ICON VASTEC, was conducted where this technology was adapted in water reuse for food production and other use. Then in 2020, we consolidated our long-standing collaboration with the establishment of the strategic platform, namely the Fraunhofer Innovation Platform, or FIP for Water Energy Food Nexus at Stellenbosch University. And during the same time, the SARPIC project was funded with, as I mentioned, Fraunhofer IST as lead. And the overall aim of the project was to investigate and minimize the spread of CECs within the water cycle from households and industries to wastewater treatment effluents and afterwards via irrigation. I'm going to go to the next slide. So the electrochemical oxidation tech from IST, along with other technologies such as membrane nanofiltration technology, created a multiple barrier to reduce CECs in its permeate stream by at least 90%. The stream is then disinfected and can be applied for crop irrigation as indicated by route A on the slide. The CECs in the polluted concentrate stream is reduced by at least 80% before being discharged into the aquatic system indicated by route B. So a prototype treatment system was set up at UCLM in Spain and evaluated for irrigation and long-term tests with the help of agricultural test spots. And over the past few years, we at the Water Institute have developed analytical methods to identify more than 100 micropollutants. Therefore, our involvement in SARPIC included to help to select the 4 micropollutants and 2 antimicrobial-resistant genes as proxy for the larger group of CECs. Our postdoc traveled to UCLM last month to extract these CECs from the effluent, plant and soil that were sampled from the agricultural pots, and is currently busy with analysis. So I must just mention that the project has been extended until end of the year, so therefore we are still busy with the last deliverables. As work package leader for transfer strategies, we are developing transfer concepts to transfer the results of the treatment technology to other regions, focus on Southern Africa. And our main findings so far, you can see in the graphs for route A and B, the removal of the CECs met our SERPIC goals, which is indicated by the red lines in the graph, except for venlafaxine, which is the antidepressant, that showed lower removal percentage. So far, we can say that all the technology efficiently treated the effluent indicated by the high removal of organic and microbial CECs. The EU standards was achieved, which leads to a higher protection of the receiving water body and the possibility to reuse the reclaimed water. Can go to the next slide. So our current research at the Water Institute is a continuation of previous work on real-time monitoring of biometabolic activity and our knowledge on CECs. We know how to analyze for CECs, but we don't know exactly the effect on environmental and human health. So our aim is to apply microbial biofilms as whole cell biosensors that features genetically modified organisms expressing reported genes that can be coupled to sensors and function as IoT devices. Such biosensors can sense, for example, endocrine disruptors and carcinogens, amongst others, and can serve as early warning or risk assessment tools for operators and regulators. The data generated can give an indication of either drinking water quality, of environmental surveillance, or indication of effluent water quality. The vision is to deploy these devices in line that then function as fully automated and cost-effective technologies. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Botes. Since we are running a bit out of time, we will open up for live discussion. There'll be a few more less questions than we had intended, but I would ask all the speakers if you could put your cameras on and make sure that you're audible. And I invite Dr. Kalebela, who will lead this discussion. Thank you.
Very much, Amelia, for this opportunity. My name is Nonhlanhla Kalebela. I work for the Water Research Commission. I'm a research manager for water quality. I am fully aware that we don't have much time and we are basically eating into the next presenter's time. So first, I want to thank all the speakers for sharing their research and also sharing the knowledge that they've gathered from their research. And in the interest of time, the questions that I was going to pose today, they were sent to all the speakers. So just in the interest of time, I'm just going to do a recap of the questions. And then I am going to ask that maybe you use the chat to just put your commentary there so that we can move on to the next presentation. And then just before then we close, if there is some time, then we can see if there is any follow-up to the answers or responses that have been given. Other than to think that probably we can be able to do that in 5 minutes or less, I don't think that we'll be able to do any justice. So please make use of the chat. So just for the benefit of everyone, so the questions that I had for Pairwise were on collaboration and funding. So first I wanted just some comments on what are the advancements have been achieved under the project and also the results that I have been observed, what funding or partnerships can be unlocked using the findings from the research. And then to Prof. Baich Matisinch, I had asked on the scalability, local adaptation, as well as implementation of the prototype solution that has been developed under the research. And then to Prof. Nyantumbo from Edward Mondlane, I had asked his view or his opinion on the involvement of communities in projects that are related to AMR, as we know that the public or communities also play a role in the propagation of antimicrobial resistance. And then lastly to Dr. Marlies Botez, I had asked the question that from the findings from the research, what are the main policy recommendations that have emerged? And also, how can one go about to make sure that these recommendations or policy recommendations make it to regulations as well as policies that are meant to combat the spread of AMR? So I will stop there if that's okay with you, Amelia. Then the speakers can just try to answer in the chat. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kalebele. We will try to collate all the questions and also all the answers from the speakers, and we'll find a way to share this with all the participants. So we really apologize for this. In the interest of time, I'm just going to open up to Dr. Simon Frank, who will just give some closing remarks before the session closes. Please, over to you, Simon.
Yeah, thank you, Amelia, for the introduction, and good afternoon, everyone. I hope you can see my screen now.
Yes.
Yes, we can see your screen. Thank you.
Perfect. Yeah, my name is Simon Frank. I'm a project manager at the project management agency Karlsruhe. And on behalf of the German Federal Ministry of Education and Research, we are coordinating the Aranet Co Fund Aquatic Pollutants. And yeah, I prepared a short presentation for the closing remarks that follows a bit on what Mamo said in her introduction. I want to start with the SDGs. You may have seen these graphs quite a lot during the World Water Week. But as you know that in 2015, the global community launched this 2030 agenda with the 17 Sustainable Development Goals that should be reached by 2030. So that's in 6 years from now. And water plays a central role here. For example, SDG 6, universal access to clean water and sanitation, is one of them. And according to a UN report from 2021, we will not reach that goal unless the investments quadruple. So therefore, it's apparent that many new approaches to water are needed, and they will then effectively address several of these sustainable development goals. Yeah, coming to the current water challenges, some of them were already mentioned by Mamo at the beginning. The first one I want to mention here is water stress and water scarcity. Also, the water use efficiency is steadily increasing. There are still about 2.4 billion people living in water-stressed countries in 2020, and there are still about 4 billion people who experience severe water scarcity during at least 1 month of the year. And it's expected that due to climate change, the situation might even get worse. The second challenge I want to mention is water quality, and that's the main one that our Aranet Co Fund Aquatic Pollutants is addressing. Also, 60% of the water bodies where water quality was assessed are classified as having a good ambient water quality. There is still the problem that only 52 countries reported the water quality of groundwater. And this is, of course, very problematic as groundwater represents the largest share of fresh water in most countries and the most important drinking water source. The third challenge, access to clean water. According to UN Water, 2.2 billion people still lack safely managed drinking water services, and over 3.5 billion lack safely managed sanitation services, and over 2 billion lack basic hygiene services. And what the UN data also reveal are great disparities, with the poorest and those living in rural areas least likely to use the mentioned basic services. The fourth challenge is the impact of climate change on our water resources. Each degree of warming is projected to expose additional 7% of the world population to a 20% or more reduction in their renewable water resources. And by 2050, up to 1 billion people could live in cities with perennial water shortages. Yeah, on the next slide, you can see the current status of SDG 6 indicators. I don't want to go through all the indicators in detail, but what becomes obvious is that also we are making progress. We still have a way to go to achieve SDG 6 by 2030. And if you're interested in all indicators of SDG 6 and also the numbers, I recommend to visit the UN homepage, sdg6data.org. You can follow the progress there. I just picked out one. Here on the slide, you can see the proportion of population using safely managed drinking water services. You can see that, for example, continents like Europe or North America remain on a very high level of over 90% since over 20 years. But you can also see the progress here, for example, that Sub-Saharan Africa or also Central and Southern Asia made with a rise of 10 to 20% since the year 2000. But on average, as you could see on the slide before, the black line here, 73% of the world's population is currently using safely managed drinking water services, which also means that 27% are not. Yeah, what needs to be done? I compiled here some recommendations that are given by UN Water, by Water Europe, and also the World Bank Group. And as Mamo already mentioned at the beginning, in my opinion, all these points that are listed here can be much better addressed in cooperations, in international cooperations, in partnerships that will work much better. Yeah, the four major points I want to mention here are the recommendations for policymakers, the sustainable water governance, the role of technology and innovation, and the community engagement and education, which is a very central point. Yeah, due to the time, I don't want to go through all the points in detail. But what examples of tackling these challenges do we have? The ARANET co-fund was already mentioned at the beginning. The three joint programming initiatives on water, oceans, and AMR, antimicrobial resistance, set up this ARANET co-fund to carry out the necessary research and innovation to address the challenge of pollution of our water sources. And that again shows the importance of also transdisciplinary research. We have the freshwater sector here with water JPI. We have the marine sector with JPI oceans. And we also have the health sector with JPI AMR, for example. Yeah, the call for research projects included these three topics. They were already mentioned at the beginning. Measuring, 7 projects were funded here. Evaluating, where 4 projects were funded. Taking actions, where 7 projects were funded. And 1 transfer project was funded. And if you want to have further information on the ARANET, I recommend to visit our homepage, aquaticpollutants.eu. And the projects are ending at the end of this year, and we will have our final event in October in Frankfurt. And you will also find more information here on the homepage. Yeah, a quick outlook to future research activities. Of course, there are a lot more, but I want to just mention the 3 here on the slide. The partnership Water for All, Water Security for the Planet, which is a funding program for scientific research in freshwater, where the main objective is to address water issues in a holistic frame to enable water security at a large scale and in the long term. And the next 2 calls that are upcoming in September this year is the call Water for Circular Economy. And next year in September, the call with the topic Water and Health. A second one that I want to mention here is WASA, Water Security in Africa. This is a program that was developed in a joint consultation process with African and German experts from science and practice, including the African Ministers' Council on Water and the water ministries of Angola, Botswana, Namibia, Zambia, and South Africa. And this WASA program is part of the Research for Sustainability strategy of the German Federal Ministry of Education and Research. And also the WRC from South Africa plays a major role here. They're, for example, funding all the South African project partners. The thematic focus is also given here on the slide. It's water and mining, water reuse, water-sensitive urban design, hydrological early warning, and groundwater exploration. And the third one I would like to mention here is the Belmont Forum. This is an international partnership that mobilizes funding of environmental change research. And this year, the African Regional Call was launched to fund transdisciplinary research projects across Africa, which should address the water, energy, food, health nexus, pollution, disaster preparedness, and responsiveness and recovery. Yeah, so that's all from my side. I want to end the presentation with a quote from Alvaro Lario, who is currently the chair of UN Water, and he said, "In an unstable world where security threats are growing, we must all recognize that ensuring the availability and sustainable management of water and sanitation for all, the aim of Sustainable Development Goal 6, is essential for global prosperity and peace." Yeah, that's all from my side. Thanks, Amelia, for your whole team for the organization and hosting of this session. And back to you.
Okay, so thank you all participants, and unfortunately our time is up, but what I will try to do, I've seen the comments, questions and answers in the chat. So what we will do on our side is we'll try to compile them, and then if I ask that, Frank, with your permission, if we can post them on the Aquatic Pollutants website, and so all those who are interested in those answers, please go there, and they should be posted hopefully by early next week. Thank you so much once again for attending, and have a good day. Thank you. Thank you all panelists. Thank you all speakers. Thanks.